This story shall the good man teach his son, and a Thursday night shall ne'er go by from this day to the ending of the world. But we in it shall be remembered, we few, we happy few, we band of brothers, for he today that podcasts with me shall be my brother, be he ne'er so vile. This day shall gentle his condition, and gentlemen in England now abed shall think themselves accursed they were not here, and hold their manhoods cheap, whiles any speaks that podcasted with us upon this Thursday night.
Oscar Mike Media is proud to present some form of podcasting thing, I guess. Hello and welcome to the third attempt at the introduction to the Oscar Mike Media podcast. I am Kris, Kris Lipscomb. I have a surname, I think. Features editor at TheSixthAxis.com and random guy over at Halftone Hero. I am joined as per normal by Peter Chapman, editor-in-chief over at TheSixthAxis.com. Say hello, Peter.
Hello.
And Lewis Gaston, general guy over at ScreenDemon.com. Say hello, Lewis.
Hello.
Right, hopefully everyone stopped sounding like robots now. That's why it's the third attempt, because everyone kept sounding like a robot. And we are good to go. We have no notes this week for the show, so it might be a bit weird.
The Sixth Axis podcast.
For the 200th time, hello.
All right.
And welcome to the Sixth Axis podcast.
Hi.
As per usual, I am your host, Kris Lipscomb.
This.
Joining me this week is a man who has been here for very close to 200 podcasts, Lewis Gaston. Say hello, Lewis. Meow! Also here is the other member of the original crew who, alas, has departed us on a regular basis, but is here this week as a special treat. It's Peter Chapman. Say hello, Peter.
Hello.
Why are you sad? You sound sad.
I'm just being super serious because it's the least thing you would expect.
That is true. I would not expect you to be serious.
I was half expecting a wagwan or an assalamu alaikum.
Wagwan!
Oh, that's so much better.
I'm clicking my fingers. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can.
Does it just sound like I'm having a
Yeah,
wank?
of course you are, Pete. Yeah.
Kev, young Kev, who is the most recent addition to this podcast crew, is unfortunately still
Konnichiwa.
he's still in Japan.
That's what he would say.
Yeah.
Bonjour. Oh, sorry, Japan. Oh,
Yeah,
right.
he's in the French quarter.
I mean, I
of
will
Japan.
point out, in Japan, he doesn't have to exclusively speak Japanese. He could still speak English.
Probably a relief to him.
I mean, because Kate's there, so he could just be like, "You all right?"
Do you reckon that's how they talk to each other?
No, they're very middle class. They
I
don't.
was gonna say, normally it's, hello, oh, is that risotto?
Olives for me.
Dip.
No, to be fair, based on their interactions on the podcast, how they talk is Kev sounding confused at all times. Anytime Kate comes in while he's recording, Kev just sounds very confused the whole time.
He's got short-term memory loss. It's like, who are you?
So yeah, I just assume that's how they talk all the time, just permanent confusion. We've done 200 of these. We'll probably talk about that bit before we do anything else.
It's a lot, isn't it?
Unbelievable.
I did a quick back of the envelope calculation.
It's a long time to be daft.
Yeah.
I reckon if you say it's about 2 hours to record this, roughly, because some of the early ones are quite long and some of the more recent
and
ones are
plus,
shorter.
we have a tendency of, it takes 2 hours to record the actual podcast.
And the actual podcast 10 minutes long.
It's like it's like a 3-4 hour process.
Yeah.
And that's not counting the early podcasts where one of us would say something bigoted or just generally offensive.
It's interesting that was only in the early podcasts, Lewis.
There was an entire block of podcasts where we wasted half an hour waiting for Lewis to actually start recording as well.
Yeah.
Oh yes, no,
which we were researching earlier. So you'll have just missed there a lovely point where I've had to cut something out. We should probably talk. So I was working this out right. So it takes me it takes about 2 hours to record. It takes me 3 to 4 hours to edit it. So say 5 hours conservatively for me to work on a podcast. So I reckon I have done 40 days worth of work on this podcast, which is too many, realistically.
Yeah, probably. It depends. What else would you have been doing with your time?
Could have learnt French.
Clicking his fingers.
I can always do that.
Oh, you're right. That does sound like he's having a wank.
Yeah, exactly.
I might as well do this now whilst we're talking about the 200. Because I went looking...
Are you going to have a wank?
Just going to click a finger. It only takes a finger.
Oh my god.
I went looking back through the archives. Because it has, like, there are days
Did
where you get
Lewis?
home...
This is new information to me.
I know. It's, there are some days where you get home and you think, the last thing I want to do at the moment is podcast. But it has been a very fun time. And so I went back and had a look. And I've picked out 3 clips. They're only about like a minute long at the most, that hopefully will come across through the microphone, through my phone. And there are various things that I've enjoyed the most over these 200 years. 200 years?
It feels like that sometimes.
Felt like it.
That is very... like talking to you, Lewis, that is very much sometimes how it feels.
Harsh.
So...
Last week, you spent 30 seconds saying goodbye. That was literally last week.
But that's because I've got stamina, Chris. There's no need to get jealous, all right?
It's fair.
So the first one, is annoying Kris. I've enjoyed annoying Kris quite a lot. So I found this clip. It's 34 seconds long. Yeah, exactly. It's 34 seconds long, and I hope it will remind you of the earlier days of when Kris used to rage quit. I don't know if you've forgotten about that.
I haven't rage quit in a while.
I know. We should work on that today, Pete. So yeah, this is annoying Kris that I've enjoyed.
Lewis.
Yeah.
Can you this week? Can you send me all the files for the quiz, please, and the competition?
No.
Okay.
No.
Can you actually do it and not be awkward?
No.
Great.
Anything else?
That's brilliant. That little exchange should be the bit that you put over the end this time. Yeah, that is going to be the end. You fucker. Can you actually do it for me? Just because
Right, I'm not sure what you're not understanding. No.
So, annoying Kris at times like that was brilliant. One of my finest moments was when I broke Pete. So I'm just going to play this one for you.
And the end dubs.
Why did you bring them into it?
I'd sing something by the end dubs, but I really don't know any of their... Can you call them songs?
Dappy needs to be blinded.
I don't even remember you saying that.
And what continues for the next half a minute is Pete just doing
he needs to be blinded.
What's his face? Muttley.
Why not some other sensory destabilisation? Surely because blinded is quite a...
Sensory destabilisation. I didn't even hear Kev say that.
It doesn't seem like the most crucial of senses. I mean, his hearing is probably the most important. Do you want to rephrase or...
So yeah, that was one of my finest moments.
And the idea that Dappy needs his hearing.
And then the other time, it's just when we have really random conversations. And here's one of Kev talking about what one of his mottos in life is.
Technique is like a gemstone. Polish it and it will shine. That's what I always say anyway.
That's your motto.
Yeah, no, you always say that. He's always saying that.
It's sort of my thing.
I love that he's clearly made that up on the spot.
That was he didn't like the way I sipped my tea.
All right.
So yeah, those sorts of moments that I've loved.
Oh, I remember you saying that Dappy should be blind.
It's true though. Let's be honest.
I'd like to point out that's all the context. There's no other context for that quote. That is that we brought up N-dubs and that was Lewis's response.
There wasn't a run-on from anything else.
That was just it. That's just where he just jumped to it.
There's no true feelings on the man.
But you've...
Just the extent of Lewis's dislike of Dappy for some reason. I don't even know why you hate Dappy so much. Why do you hate Dappy?
Obviously considered how much you dislike him and what sort of scale of physical harm that requires.
Like, break a leg? No. Too little. I know. I'll take away his sight.
He's like, break your leg. He can recover. I mean, people recover from broken legs.
Blind the fucker.
Jesus Christ. Right. Oh, man.
Oh, dear. That was funny. That was a funny day.
That was.
The other thing I love is if you go back and there are all these podcasts, like the revamped OMM with me, Kris, and Pete, and then subsequently Kev. They're all on TSA. So if you just go to the podcast section and skip back to like page 7 or whatever, you'll get right back to the start. And if you go to episode 1, like now we've got big fancy theme tunes, and the theme tunes changed quite a lot over the
Yeah, it has.
episodes.
There's like I always get confused when I edit. I forget which one's the right one.
Yeah.
Because we've still got all of them in the folder for some reason. I don't know why.
Episode 1's theme tune was a piece of music, very, indifferent and sort of default in the background. And then Kris, he's hosting a podcast. You'd expect him to come over with a really good narration, just sits there and goes, "Hello, this is an OMM podcast," or something, I don't know, like that. And it's just like, okay, I'll stop listening. I don't understand how we've got to 200, to be honest, because after the intro of episode 1, you'd be like, oh, fuck it.
Well, I was talking to somebody about it today, and I was like, I'm amazed we got to 20 without me killing you.
That's not fair. It wasn't just me. Pete was a bit of a cunt as well.
Peter was, but it was mostly you, Lewis. Admit this.
You're definitely the ringleader.
Because if we're saying, right, if we say the average episode of a podcast is 2 hours, it's probably actually 2 hours and 10 minutes, and there is 10 minutes of stuff that I have cut out, and it's almost all exclusively you.
Well, if you say so.
There's no evidence of this. I can't prove it.
I was going to say, this is libelous. This is slanderous. Whatever.
I think because I've got the raw audio of every single one. I've got it all. I've got it saved just in case the police ever ask.
Evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Shit.
It'll be the only case in history where you leave your PC into PC World to get fixed, and the rest of us get arrested.
It's because the repairer is probably Chinese.
Oh God. No, I'm just waiting in case Lewis wins the lottery or something. I'm just making sure I've got plenty of blackmail material, just knocking about.
As if you need to keep historical evidence on Lewis.
Without context, just release a clip to the media. He's plotting to blind Dappy
with his newfound millions.
I would as well.
You fucking would.
I
don't doubt it, Lewis.
I think at this stage, I don't think you'd need millions to get Dappy blinded.
That's true. Just a can of Stella, line of Coke, and a drunk woman. Allegedly.
Oh, I'm
Allegedly.
Made me laugh too much. I've swallowed my saliva.
That is what you tend to do with your saliva.
The wrong way. I mean, gone down my air thing.
You mean you inhaled your saliva?
Yeah, I'm going to drown now.
How did he die? He drowned in his own saliva.
You drowned me, Lewis. That's what you've done.
It's taken 200 episodes, but we got there, people. The long plan has paid off.
the incredibly long game. It's all come together.
It's all right. They'll put him on a ward with Dappy. They can compare notes.
I'll just have Dappy's eyes and Chris's lungs in jars. Tokens.
Now we talked about that. We might talk more about that later.
Can I just say as well how good it is to have Pete back on?
It is. He's never coming again.
Well,
this
give it 15 minutes. He's just clicked his fingers.
It's cold in here, okay?
No. No, we'll have... Wait, let me have a drink quickly. 1 sec. Let me have some of this beer.
Oh, Kris is drinking beer. Excellent.
I suspect we'll invite Pete back and he'll be like, I remember 200. I'm not coming back. Right. So we talked about all that.
I also like how the plans for this 200th episode have changed quite considerably.
Scaled back rapidly, didn't they?
Originally we had a massive plan to, actually meet in person, which is quite a logistical feat because Pete lives in, 10,000 BC. And
I spent
1974.
I spent about 2 months being incredibly stressed trying to work this out, and it all fell apart.
So we settled for doing it as we normally do it.
We settled for Peter can come. He'll be on. Kev's in Japan.
Yeah, Kev's in Japan. It's a shame Kev's not here for 200.
Yes, that is a shame.
That'll teach
But we've
him.
always got Christmas.
That'll teach Kev to go and enjoy himself.
Christmas Lipscomb.
Christmas Lipscomb. I also listened to the Christmas rap.
Oh God.
That is back in the archives, people, and that is something to behold.
Anyway. Time for Twitter hellos.
Hello.
So. Oh.
That's a shocking damnation of Twitter. It's just performance art we're having now.
So let's break this down. Justin says hello.
Hello.
Standard.
Mr. Jimmy says this is his first hello ever.
Wow.
Hello, Mr.
Hello.
Jimmy. What a time to be alive, eh?
Kevling says hello, but has broken the pattern by not being late.
Yeah, you prick.
That's a special treat for your 200th episode.
Yeah, he's on time. Benjamin Reed says hello.
Hello.
Interesting, Jamas doesn't actually say hello.
He's pretty much put in a direct debit of hellos.
Yeah, he's brought up he's got 3 things.
He's just scheduling tweets now.
It's just
We've got 3 tweets from him. None of them say hello.
Hello anyway, Jamanos.
Mr. Fodder says hello.
Hello, Mr. Fodder.
In fact, he says hello and congrats. Only 800 to go. Because as long-term listeners will recall, we were cursed by that witch to do 1,000 episodes. It's not often many people remember that, but yeah, every day I'd just damn that witch, damn her.
Are you okay, Kris?
We got to get to 1,000, Lewis. We got to do it. 800
right,
more.
okay.
800 more. Well, that witch is coming for us, and I don't want that.
Is she hot?
No.
Oh.
It's like a medieval witch. Gonna fuck us up. Blind us, like Dappy.
Gonna stick our broom socks. Gonna stick our broom socks in our eye stickets.
Eye stickets. And Mr. Bell Teacher says hello and well done. By the way, 200 episodes. Bring back the giveaways. I won loads of times.
Oh, we did used to do that, didn't we?
We did.
Yeah.
You gave away movies and stuff. Yeah.
Wow.
Out of your own
Those
money.
were the days. I never
Those
used to
were
give
the
them away.
days.
Let's be fair. Pete used to buy them out of a whoops bucket in HMV.
Yeah.
Let's just to send me a list of the shittest films he could think of. It's like, these are films I've seen that were absolutely fucking terrible, and one quite good one.
Send them Octopus versus Mega Shark. They'll love it.
Oh, let's give something away. What do we give away?
Your saliva.
What's a bad film?
Oh, where do we start? Oh my god! Now you put me on the spot. There's just so many. Well, Titanic is the default answer.
Titanic's all right though.
Fair.
Oh, fuck off.
Also fair.
I mean, that's reasonable.
I'll allow it.
There's so many bad. I'll have a think.
All right, we're gonna give something away. We'll work out a competition at some point. Yeah.
Eyes wide shut.
That is quite poor, but it depends what mood you're in because it's quite horny.
Oh.
That's true. No, but I don't want a well-known. You know what? Like a bad film that's just genuinely.
There's just so many. I want to think of a really bad one.
Yeah, because
Let me think.
Titanic. Like there are people who like Titanic. I want a film that's just legitimately everyone's like, no, why does this film exist?
Okay, I will.
Like the remake of The Italian Job.
Oh, that is poor.
That no one likes that film.
Step Up. There you go. You've probably got all of them.
I'm not giving away my Step Up collection. I've cultivated that. Anyway, it's time for the news. We'll probably forget to give something away by the end of this episode, but we will do it somehow. The only bit of news I could find this week, 'cause there's not really a lot going on, because it was Paris Games Week last week, which we talked about for like 6 hours or something. That just kept going. But Konami has closed the studio responsible for Metal Gear Online. which is, I believe, their Los Angeles studio.
Oh,
or
man.
rather, unfortunately.
Kojima's
Always
going to
so.
be fucking raging when he gets back off holiday.
Yeah, Kojima. I don't know, why have they said that?
Because they're crazy.
It's like, would you say it's on holiday? No one ever crack the code. They'll never work it out. Firstly, I'd like to say this article is kind of weird because 3 lines in the second paragraph all start with Metal Gear Online. Just lines up quite neatly. But yeah, they've been closed. And what's interesting with this as well, particularly, is it hasn't come to PC yet.
No, it hasn't.
But the studio's been shut.
It's supposed to come in the new year.
So I don't think that's happening.
Interesting. I wonder
Yeah.
what everybody who bought that will think.
Yeah, I imagine they're not going to be too happy about it.
I don't know. I bought it on PC and don't really care about Metal Gear Online.
No, but I imagine there are lots of people who do.
Probably, yeah.
I know
It's
this.
not me.
I know this might be a source of some like confusion to you, Peter. But there are people who have different interests to you.
Oh, yeah. I like to think of them as wrong.
I mean, that's fair. That's very much Tough Club stance on these things. As anyone who spies on our Slack chats will find out. But yeah, it's always sad when someone closes, but this is the it's seemingly instantaneous folding of the entirety of Konami into just like, we do mobile games and spas in Japan now.
Yeah, pachinko. How crazy is it, though, that Konami is going to stop making, like, well, they say they're not, but they are going to stop making AAA games.
Except for
bow
PES.
out.
They still make PES for some reason.
Yeah, but they bow out. With PES this year was one of the best that there's been for years and years.
Yeah.
And Metal Gear Solid 5 was their other game that they released this year. Like, 2 of the best games this year. And, like, Metal Gear Solid 5, maybe one of the best games for a few years. It's definitely up there. And that's how they bow out. Like, fuck it, this is what we can do. Now, fuck you all. We're leaving.
And
they must make a fortune from those 2 games, at least.
that is true.
PES is on the Fox engine now, too. So it's basically Metal Gear Solid.
For some reason, they were like, we've got this engine.
Because you can have really sneaky strikers.
PES. Yeah, it's just a slightly weird decision, but it makes sense. It just feels very odd to put it on, like, to put PES on the Fox engine.
Yeah, but it kind of shows the versatility of that engine as well, though.
Yeah.
Must be good.
Other breaking news.
Breaking news?
Especially for you, Peter. Seth Rollins is injured and out for 6 to 9 months.
Holy shit.
He has torn his ACL. Torn his right ACL, MCL, and medial meniscus. Those of you who don't care, and I'll probably cut this bit out to be honest, he's the WWE World Heavyweight Champion. So that's a fairly big deal. They're going to be holding a tournament at Survivor Series to declare a new champion, which will be Roman Reigns.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's a shame, though. That's a real shame.
Maybe just Alberto Del Rio can win it.
He's
Surprise.
He's got that other one.
Yeah.
You can't have him return and then just immediately claim all the belts.
I thought that would have been really cool if Seth Rollins had just, like, when he had the heavyweight thing, if he'd won the US title from Cena that time, and then if he'd just gone, fuck it, I'm going after the Intercontinental belt as well, and then tried to find a tag team partner.
That's what he said, basically. There was an interview with him, and they were like, oh, are you going to unify the belts? And he was like, what, are you fucking crazy? No, I want to hold all the belts. He said he wanted to be like Ultimo Dragon from like the 80s or whatever. Whereas this really famous picture of him where he's got like 15 belts.
Yeah.
And it's like, I want to be that. Why wouldn't I want to be that? I want to have all of them. And because it wasn't in a WWE publication, he was quoted as saying something like, once I've won all the WWE ones, I'm going to take him to New Japan and win the IWGP belt. It's like, you're a fucking lunatic, Seth Rollins. Time for What We Did for the 200th time. 200 What We Did.
What we did.
Chapman.
We've done a lot, haven't we? 200 things.
Yeah. I don't think there's 200 things. Although you seem to have 200 things to talk about. You were just like, I've got these games, and then there's more games.
I haven't been on in a while, have I?
You played infinite fucking games. I don't think you have to list everything you played since the last time you were on the podcast.
Oh, really?
I don't think that's the system we've established. Just because there's people already on every, like, couple of years or something. There's people on maybe, like, once a year. I don't think we could expect them to discuss everything they've played in that year.
So I've been wasting my time keeping this list.
Yeah. But you played the beginner's guide.
You love a list, Pete.
I do love a list.
You haven't wasted your time.
Oh,
what are you
it's
talking about?
something to put in my notebooks, isn't
You
it?
enjoyed yourself. But you played the beginner's guide, which is like the Stanley Parable, but not.
In a crass oversimplification. Yes.
That's Kris for you.
Has anybody else played the beginner's guide?
No, I wanted to, but then I forgot.
It's really, really interesting. It's from the same guy that did the Stanley Parable. His name's Davey Redden, I think. Redden? Something like that. His name's Davey. Let's just call him Davey. And the Stanley Parable obviously is probably fairly well known by now. It's kind of a weird, almost like an examination or a study of how video games work and what they do. So as you play through that thing, it'll sort of change the narrative, and there's a narrator that talks over the top of it, and he sort of explains things, and they know that you expect it to work like a video game, and they play on that to sort of subvert those expectations and make it do kind of interesting things or funny things, or just reward you for not playing it like a video game or whatever. So the Stanley Parable got quite popular in 2013, I think it was released. So if that was about sort of like a study on video games, then the beginner's guide is kind of like a study on video game developers, in that it explores, it can be considered sort of at least semi-autobiographical, I think, in that it explores the work of a small experimental game developer who ostensibly throughout the game is referred to as Coda, and you're supposed to think of him as like an acquaintance or a friend of Davey, who is the narrator in this game. So where Stanley Parable had this professional voice actor being the narrator, Beginner's Guide is narrated by the man that developed those games. So it's more informal.
Really
it's more like it's almost like a director's commentary.
Mm-hmm.
But he's talking you through these little snippets of games that he says were made by his friend Coda, who had interesting ideas, and he's sort of exploring the games as he plays through them. And I don't want to say too much because the game only lasts for like an hour and a half. And it's quite, like, anybody that hasn't played it, if you're interested in the process of making games or the people that make games or that sort of independent scene, it's worth playing through because it only takes an hour and a half and it is quite interesting. Even if you don't enjoy it, I think you might find it interesting.
Yeah. No, I really want to try it because, like as you say, it's very short. Does it have that kind of replay loop that the Stanley Parable has?
No. The Stanley Parable, that was one of the ways that it rewarded you, was if you did something differently, it ended in a different ending. This doesn't have that. So it is really just a narrative. It's just a story. It takes you through an hour and a half, and it explains, basically it explores an idea and it kind of explains little bits and pieces around it. But you can play through it again, and it does change slightly, but it's not. It certainly doesn't change to the extent that the Stanley Parable changed, and it certainly doesn't have as many replay loops to get you through and get you back into it that many times. The only thing is, there's a couple of parts where, because he's talking you through somebody else's game, he'll get to a bit where he says something like, and this is where, like, he put a maze in here, but the maze has invisible walls. And if you touch the walls, it puts you back to the beginning, I think. It was a while ago I played it. I think that's what happens. So, or it kills you and you have to start again. So the maze has invisible walls, so you can't actually see how to get through it. So at that point in the game, he just says, in the interest of, like, speeding things up a bit, I'll just skip you to the end of the maze. And the narrator then, in the story of the game, moves you past the maze. So then you can just carry on exploring the level and you don't get stuck with this impossible to pass thing.
I like that. That's
if you go through and play it again, he doesn't move you past the maze.
Oh, really?
So you have to or at least try and play through this almost impossible
Does he
bit.
make a point about not taking you through it as well?
I think so. And there's another bit as well that has I think it's like a 6-digit code, which is completely random. And he says you have to try and enter the code, and there's no clues to it, and there's no way of knowing what it is. You just have to guess.
That's a lot of combinations.
Yeah, so he just says, like, the narrator just says, I'll put the code in here for you and get you past this bit. But then if you play through it again, I don't think he does that either. So it makes the sort of weird, impossible bits of the games that he's showing you weird and impossible again. Which isn't necessarily needed for... I think you could play it through once and be perfectly happy with that. That's kind of what I did. I played it through once and then I played little bits and pieces, like chapter select stuff. Just to look at bits again. But it's weird because it's kind of the story of it, again, I won't go too far, but the story of it is that Coda's a game developer that has these weird experimental ideas. He doesn't make like what people would think of as traditional games.
Oh, okay.
He makes like weird conceptual things. And he gets to like...
Wait, so basically it's a conceptual game about conceptual games?
No, it's a conceptual game about somebody who is fascinated with the process of making games.
Okay.
I think is perhaps a better way of thinking about it.
But within that game are conceptual games.
Yes. So it starts with a level that he built, or he says that he built for Counter-Strike in like the late 90s, which is like a Unreal Engine level. I mean, anybody that has played first-person games will be familiar with that sort of very squared-off Counter-Strike, like Unreal Engine stuff. And that's where a lot of the modding scene came out of that. So he makes this level, and it's just a small level, and there's no way sort of in or out of it. It's just a small area, very much like Counter-Strike. But then there's weird, like, single-colour flat blocks with no texture on them that are floating halfway up the wall. And as he's doing that, the narrator's talking about it being like, obviously this is his first go at making a game. And he's made this level, but he's always had this sort of whimsical weirdness about it and put these things in that maybe shouldn't be there. And so then that, in the next game that he shows you, and they're all done chronologically as well. So the next game is like, well, after he did that, he did this type of thing. And a few games in, he starts to become like really obsessed with the idea of prisons and being stuck in these prisons. And a lot of the games follow that kind of theme, certainly in the middle section of the game anyway. So, and they're not prisons in the traditional sense, like there's not bars on the windows, they're just rooms, and they might be very nicely furnished rooms and very luxurious looking rooms, but you can't get out of them. And then there might be like a way out of them, but you can't get to that way out. Or it sort of plays on these weird concepts. So then you finish the game and it has its impact and all that sort of stuff. And then if you read, as I did, I mean, people can go out and get this information now, but I didn't get it until after I played through the game. Davey Reedon actually suffered from depression in the wake of the Stanley Parable. Because he really wanted the fame of it. And this is all like true now. Yeah. He really wanted the fame and the acceptance that came with being successful. And the Stanley Parable was incredibly successful. And he couldn't give that up at all. He had to just keep feeding on the attention. And it got to a point where somebody that he lived with said that when he was in the room, he made him feel physically sick because he was just such a self-obsessed, basically attention whore. And at the same time, he was completely exhausting himself because he was constantly replying and responding to feedback for the Stanley Parable. So viewed in that context of a game developer that is exploring experimental games and the process of making games and then becoming trapped by it, it sort of takes on a whole new like meaning. So yeah, it was really interesting to play through, and then learning a little bit more about the story afterwards and about the guy behind it. It kind of becomes like almost seems like it's therapy for him because he's kind of getting this stuff off his chest, and it seems, at least in part, autobiographical, which is kind of fascinating and at the same time kind of tragic.
That is genuinely really interesting. Kind of the concept of it being like, because obviously a lot of games are semi-autobiographical, but they don't play that out by taking you kind of inside the biography of someone else.
Yeah.
From what you're kind of saying, where or perhaps bibliography would be a better sort of phrase, but where a guy is showing you games he has built over the years, as you say, because he starts with, say, the Counter-Strike map and move forward.
Yeah.
So,
and in the context of the beginner's guide, he always says that these games are somebody else's.
Yeah.
It's only sort of as things go on that you kind of start to think, well, are they really someone else's or are they yours?
That's really intriguing.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. And then it also throws up other questions as somebody that has sort of dabbled in games criticism. Given that I
When did
now
you do that then?
Given that I now understand what this guy went through, how do I feel about now saying that the beginner's guide's fantastic and people should play it?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting as well.
Because I know that kind of attention is dangerous.
But likewise, how could you say that game's shit, don't play it, knowing that it's his heart and soul out there?
So it kind of asks those questions of the audience, as well as showing how those questions were asked for the guy that made this thing.
But that's almost, I would say at that point, you are, and this is a positive thing, it makes you think about criticizing a game more in line with kind of how other forms of criticism, particularly literary criticism, work, where criticism in games, although there are becoming exceptions to it, still tends to be, I wrote a review and here's the score.
Yep.
And literary criticism, and to an extent theatre criticism, some theatre criticism anyway, isn't like that. You don't say specifically what I mean, some critics do, but there are a lot of critics who don't say specifically why a thing is good or bad. And you move into away from the realms of commercial criticism more towards academic criticism.
I think it's part of the evolution of the critical process around games. I mean, games reviews, even as recently as like 5 years ago, used to be largely technical as well. Yeah.
Which is not to say that is an invalid approach to criticizing a game. But one of the things I find interesting with games compared to, say, literary criticism, with literary criticism, there's one thing to criticize. Yeah. You have the book, and you have the words, and the words were in general written by one person, and you can talk about their characterization, etc. But that's the element. You have the story or whatever they've written. And games aren't like that. Like,
most of them certainly.
Yeah, films are generally not like that. No, but I mean, even if you have a game that is built into, if I was to build a game entirely by myself, exclusively, you could criticize the gameplay ideas, you could criticize the story, you could criticize the graphical design, the sound design, or how any of these elements intermesh. There's all these, there's different layers to a game, which, if you look at film criticism, is sort of there in film criticism as well, because you can criticize the story distinctly from, say, the cinematography. Those are distinct elements. But we kind of don't, for the most part.
Yeah.
We kind of try and criticize all of a game at once and then tell people whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, I think...
I wouldn't necessarily agree with that, though. I think there are, especially now, there are many reviews out there where they will separate the graphics from the storyline or the voice acting or the actual mechanics itself.
No. My point being, though, is you will still address all of those points in one review. There are generally not reviews that look at, say, the story impact of a game, and that there is not much criticism. And I think this is kind of a problem in writing about games, is you don't get a lot of criticism that is not just a review. Whereas literary criticism, you might get an initial review, and then people study that book for years, sometimes. Ulysses and Shakespeare and Charles Dickens, these books have been studied for decades or centuries in some cases.
I think the biggest difference is the infancy of the art, because you've got, literacy has been around for,
of course, but
centuries. As it's only really since the 80s that games have been around, and we're already starting to see people, reference back to things like Journey for its emotional impact and its sort of profound
I think
effect.
That's maybe part of the problem, though, is that our frame of reference is so short. I mean, referencing back to Journey, which is like a 4-year-old game now, 3-year-old. It's not much of a frame of reference, so it becomes difficult to talk about because we haven't really had that much emotion in games up to recent years. It becomes difficult to talk about emotion just because we haven't learned how to talk about it in the context of a non-linear interactive story.
But
Yeah,
but I would also argue that there's a fantastic criticism done of Spec Ops: The Line that's as done as a proper work of academic criticism of it, and it works because because obviously that is an adaptation of Heart of Darkness, and some of the points in that are don't make reference to games, and that I think is another issue.
Hold on, Spec Ops: The Line is an adaptation of Heart of Darkness.
Yeah.
The same film that inspired Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
Or the same book that inspired Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah. I think
now I want to play Spec Ops: The Line.
I think there's a film version of it as well.
Yes, there is.
But yeah, it does. But he references it to the book, etc. And that's something that I think people don't. This has got very deep, but something I feel that people don't look at enough is that games don't exist in a vacuum. There are other forms of media out there, and media influences other forms of media, and you can make reference to those and write longer form criticism. And I was talking to you, Peter, a little while ago about my thoughts on Prison Architect. And I've got a whole bunch of stuff that I probably at some point would write about that game that isn't about what it's like to play as a game.
Yep.
But at the same time it is, but it's not like here I enjoyed this 8 out of 10.
Yeah, I think
it makes you think about the nature of incarceration.
I think the main point that you're trying to make is that in like book reviews, people don't talk about what it's like to read the book.
No, exactly.
They just talk about how the book made them feel and how it was developed and how it worked within particular literary frameworks.
They don't necessarily always try. I mean, obviously, again, there's a difference between commercial and academic, but not all commercial reviews do this. But they don't try and talk about every element of the book.
Yeah, but then I think
they
also
try and talk about core themes and things like that and stuff that interests them.
I think also to counter that, the point that Lewis was making is that we are starting to.
We are.
And I think that's a very good thing. I think different forms of critique and different ways of getting that criticism are very healthy for a medium or for an art form or however you want to reference it. And we are beginning to see that. We are starting to see people writing in a more not
open.
Sort of in a more emotive way. People referencing the emotion of games more than they reference the technology behind them.
See, because what kind of frustrates you to an extent is that people treated Eurogamer taking scores off of their reviews as a big deal, and in its way it was, but they're still writing the same reviews.
Yeah,
that's purely because people, a vast majority of people, unfortunately, just want to see the score.
Yeah.
The people moaning about the scores being taken off are probably the people that don't actually read the full review. They probably just skim it and look for certain paragraphs and then just look for the scores so that they can say, oh, it's supposed to be really good. But actually,
I think that there is totally a place for that. There's
I will say there's a value for that.
No, because I'm not saying there isn't.
Yeah, there's absolutely a value for that. Because I'm not saying, for example, that you should get rid of Empire Magazine. Empire Magazine should exist and tell you what is a good film and what's a bad film.
I was just about to mention it because I think the reason why I understand where you're coming from. The reason why I don't sort of see it as that is because most of the places that I go to read reviews, whether it be for books, films, or games and stuff, I've got to settle on my favourites because they are people that write in that style that you just talked about. One of the reasons I love Empire is because of the modern films, they tend to a lot of the time reference back to the classics of film and talk about techniques used in I don't know, like the Babadook, for example, and then they might chuck in a reference to Hitchcock, and they might reference a book that goes with a dystopian theme and all these sorts of things. And most of the places I consume sort of written media is people that write in that sense because that's what I enjoy. Because for me personally, I think it's easier to understand when somebody likens it to something else.
That's totally true. And as I say as well, like, it is.
So I'm probably a bit more blind to it because I don't read a widespread. I tend to stick to my core, my people that I like the style of and the way they write. So as far as I'm concerned, that is how everybody writes. But obviously, I know that's not the case.
But also, it is useful to have that kind of commercial criticism. That it's very useful to perhaps like consumer criticism or something like that. Like it's useful to have something that tells you as a consumer of films or whatever whether a film is worth seeing.
Yeah.
If there are 10, as an example, if there are 10 films at the cinema and you're like, oh, I have time to see one of these, it's useful to know a little bit about each and know which is probably the best one and which suits you the best.
You'd go for one that's got the more 5 stars over the one that's got
or you might even necessarily watch one that's 3 stars because they're like, oh, it's like this film, this film, and this film, and they're films you really enjoy.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's just useful to have some advice on what a thing is like and why you should see it or not see it.
One of the other things I think that probably doesn't help in terms of what people are looking for in reviews is the fact that whether it be a film poster, an advert for a game, the front cover of a book or whatever, they don't put a quote of, or most of the times, they don't put a quote of a statement where someone references it back to an event or another media or something like that. They just literally go for 9 out of 10 IGN or whatever, and they just focus on the stars and the score. They don't give you any frame of reference.
See, what I do like is I think some of the Guardians of the Galaxy advertising, as an example, did use like an outlet called This Generation Star Wars, which might not be an accurate summation, but it gives you a useful reference point.
Yeah, exactly.
It's like it's like Star Wars. You're like, oh, cool, I like Star Wars. I'll go see that. Which, to be fair, is kind of like Star Wars. Right, let's talk about stuff at the complete other end of the scale. We talked about insightful criticism and all that. I played WWE 2K16. It's a bit shit.
Is it?
Yeah, it's not that good.
Have they not been bad for a while, though? I think
they kind of have been.
The last wrestling game that was any good was like Know Your Role or Shut Your Mouth or whatever.
Like No Mercy on the N64 was pretty good.
That was before Know Your Role or Shut Your Mouth.
I know the WWE Raw games. I think there were 2 of those on the Xbox. They were pretty good as well. So it's not a good game.
So I have questions.
All right, ask your questions, and
I've raised my hand,
and I'll tell you why I dislike this game. But ask your questions.
I'm a fan of sports entertainment. As
you
some
are.
People might know.
If I didn't cut it out, there's a bit about it earlier. If I did cut it out, there's not.
I enjoy the pantomime of wrestling and the storylines of wrestling and the way that those are constructed and then developed in order to.
Do you know what?
Extract an emotion from the audience.
Do you know what?
Is that acknowledged in WWE 2K16, or have they tried to make a kind of shit fighting game?
Do you know what they've tried to make? They've tried to make a game that treats wrestling like it's UFC, and it's not.
In which case, they've missed the mark straight away.
Yeah. I don't want that.
Actually, I'll tell you what was a good wrestling game, and Peter, you will agree with me this. Although it had technical flaws, which WWE 2K16 has plenty of those. Ignore that for a minute. But WWE All-Stars. And do you know why that was good? Because it acknowledged those facts. It was cartoon and overblown and dumb, but wrestling is that. Wrestling is basically a cartoon, and it's stupid. And yeah, it's hyper-violent sometimes and all of that, but at its core, it's fucking dumb. Like, it is, and that's why I enjoy it.
Yeah, but when it gets it right, like Pete said, I remember, I look back on it really fun. I stopped watching a couple of years ago, like we said earlier, whether or not you've cut it.
I probably can't cut that bit out now. We've referenced back to it.
When I look back on it so fondly when I was younger, because like there are moments I remember, like the WrestleMania 2000. The build up to that was dumb, and then when all the McMahon family turned, and that was like proper. You're like, wow, that's amazing. And
to be fair, it is a bad match though.
You did get, but it's
good.
It can be a bad match, but still end really good because of the story that's built behind it. There are some really dodgy storylines that miss the mark completely, and like the whole, when I was younger, the tag team division back then with the Hardys, the Dudley Boys, Edge and Christian, that was an era that will never be beaten, I don't think. And that whole story. So when they get it right, it is genuinely, thrilling to watch and fun to sort of be part of.
Yeah. So I think the big problem, and this is kind of the core gameplay problem, and it's, in my opinion, it's a decision that has been enforced upon 2K by WWE rather than 2K themselves, because I don't think any game developer with any self-awareness would make this choice. Like, WWE wants it to be a technically proficient simulation. And so there's like grappling mini games and shit like that. And
But
that's not
here's the
the bit
thing.
I enjoy. I enjoy the bit where Brock Lesnar hits Undertaker with a low blow and F5s him onto an exposed ring. That's fucking awesome.
But here's the thing. I don't think there are any wrestling fans or sports entertainment fans, whatever you want to call them, that want that either.
No. I don't think wrestling games will ever work, because even, there have been a couple of good ones in the past, but I don't think wrestling games will ever work because they don't have the fluidity of it.
Well, that's what if you can get that, it'll work. That's what you need to get. And there are people trying to do that. There are independent developers who I don't think will succeed, because I think it's a very difficult game to tackle for an independent developer.
And it's a very
it's
personality-based genre.
Yeah. But even if you ignore that, you could still capture the concept of wrestling. But, like, you need that back and forth, which is difficult. That's very difficult to capture, the back and forth of a wrestling match, because it kind of, you're stripping control away from the players.
Yeah. Well, a wrestling match is about putting on a show and making the other person look good.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you're tied to a health meter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly. And
I always think that, and obviously it would be no fun to play, and it would be near impossible to make, as much combinations as needed to keep it varied. But I always think that wrestling games would almost work best as a QTE sequence.
they'd be brilliant.
Because that then you'd have the fluidity of it, you'd have the spontaneity of it, and the missing and all that lot. But like I say, it probably wouldn't be very much fun to play.
See, I think I'd be more interested in a wrestling game as a sort of almost a management simulation.
There are loads of those, though.
There's not really, though.
There are. They're just not very good.
There was two that they tried to make years ago, and
there's loads of them. They're not on Steam, but if you look, there are loads of people have made stuff, but they're mostly just not very good. But there's a bunch of them. I think WWE even tried to make one.
So that's you told.
Apparently.
But
I looked for them like a couple of years ago. I remember looking and not being able to find anything.
There's definitely stuff out there, but they're just not great.
WWE Championship Manager.
Yeah, that would be awesome.
But that's, for me, that's what is interesting about wrestling, is the way the show's built and the way the matches are put together and the stories that are told.
Absolutely.
It's not a health meter. It's not beating somebody up.
No.
That's just silly.
And it's not always about the win.
No.
But also, like, so they do stuff where they're like, oh, we've had a hard match, so you're worn down. And that happens in wrestling. But it's never a long-term effect. So you might get someone whose leg has been kicked, and they might stumble once or twice, but they'll recover and they'll still be able to run or whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
But take, for example, playing as Sami Zayn. I was playing as Sami Zayn.
Because why wouldn't you?
I know, he's got the best music. And his finisher is the haluva kick, where he puts his opponent in the corner and runs towards him and kicks him in the fucking face. And that's it. 1, 2, 3, done. It's awesome. But, like, in this, it was a hard-fought match, and so I put him in one corner. I was like, cool, go run towards him, and I think it's like Neville. I go run towards Neville and kick him in the fucking face. And then he ran like halfway across the ring, and he was like, oh, I ran out of stamina. And then he couldn't run anymore, and I couldn't kick him in the face. And that's shit.
That is shit.
That's in no way enjoyable.
That's because wrestling isn't tied to a health meter or a stamina bar or any of that bullshit.
Well, to be fair, you can like I say, you can have it tied to that a little bit, but once...
And 9 times out of 10, most of them would break something and still carry on.
Yeah. They tried a few years ago, a number of years ago, they tried a sort of a momentum system, which I thought was more interesting.
Yes,
and
they've
more
done
relevant.
that. They did that for a little while, and that's a much more interesting approach to it than stamina. Momentum is cool and fun, and also you can kind of game it a bit to get that back and forth in a match by having the momentum.
Switch the momentum.
Yeah. And that's much more enjoyable.
And they can relate that much more to the crowd response, which is much more relevant for a wrestling show.
However, I will say, one of the reasons that people like these games is not necessarily for the gameplay. They enjoy the creation suites. People really like the creation suites.
Oh, you're not going to talk about your fucking hat, are you?
Right, for a start, I made a fucking sweet hat.
It was a cowboy hat that was purple and shiny.
Yeah, it's a fucking sweet hat. But the thing is, like, they've done a fantastic job here. Like, it's really good. I haven't tried. You can put there's like the game face type thing, so you can put your actual face in. I haven't tried that because no one wants to look at me.
I've seen some videos of that. It's horrifying.
I've got to give that a crack because I'm meant to be reviewing this, so I'll have to try it. But I made a guy. I was like playing WWE, like my career mode. So you take a guy and you start him at like the bottom. So in this case with WWE, you start at NXT, which is like their feeder system. You start him there, does some wrestling, and then he gets better. So like, I made my guy, and it's fucking deep. There's a lot of stuff you can do, and it's really impressive. And people who are better at it than me are going to make them. To be fair, people who are better than me have made amazing creations. There are like absolutely perfect versions of independent wrestlers in that game now.
And can you download other people's stuff?
Yeah, because you can download other people's stuff.
Awesome. Do they still have a flagrant disregard for copyright law?
Yep.
Brilliant.
There is, for example...
Are they allowing people's creations of Hulk Hogan to stay in that download store?
Oh, I hope so.
Or CM Punk.
Yeah.
I really hope so. Definitely CM Punk. There's always been CM Punk. So, for example, there is I haven't downloaded him, but from what I've seen, there's an absolutely perfect version of Will Ospreay, who is probably one of the top 2 British wrestlers in the world right now, who's not wrestling for WWE in a way. And he is someone's made him, and he's absolutely perfect. He looks like down to, he wears like a big kind of Assassin's Creed style, like hood and cloak thing. Like that's his entrance attire, and they've made that, and it looks spot on.
And you can import your own logos, can't you?
Yes, you can do that. So it's fascinating the stuff people are going to do. One thing
what's the point of putting all that effort in if the game's shit?
Yeah, but one of the things that really interested me and amused me is there's like this has been in previous games before, but there's kind of like presets for moves to wrestlers if you just want to go quick. There's like and it's like aerial 1 2 3 4, technical 1 2 3 4.
Yeah,
and I believe it's technical 3, and because I was fiddling with it just to see what you could do. Technical 3, if you go into that guy and look at the moves, and I was like, these seem very familiar. Fiddled about a bit. I was like, oh, I see. This is AJ Styles' moveset. This is in fact exactly AJ Styles' moveset, who is probably the best wrestler in the world who doesn't wrestle for WWE. And has once years ago wrestled for WWE, but has never wrestled with him like while he's been a prominent wrestler. And I was like, that's someone on the development team who has snuck that in without anyone noticing, because it is exactly his finishes and exactly his signature moves. I was like, okay, I like that. I like that that's made its way in there. And there's loads
that's kind of a bit more reassuring, because when I read that, obviously you get emails and all the PR stuff that builds up to these games releases.
Yeah.
And when they announced all the DLC that they were making for it, and basically confirmed that they weren't going to have 4 of the best wrestlers in the company in the game, in Bayley and Charlotte and Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch.
Yes, because they're insane.
Yeah, they weren't going to have those in the game. Now that's absurd. And you think, well, maybe DLC. Then they announced all the DLC and confirmed that they would never be in the game. But Los Matadores are coming as DLC.
Oh, I do like them.
No, fuck them.
What about Diego? Who's the best one? Diego or the other one?
Diego and Fernando.
Fernando's clearly the better one.
When I can't tell them apart. They're both shit. But when I read that, I kind of thought, well, this is a game obviously being made by people who don't understand the company or the industry or the fan base that they're making a game for. Because they've excluded the 4 most exciting people in the company at the minute, and they're including people who are total shit and on their way out. They've included divas that aren't even with the company anymore, that just were when they signed the deal.
Yeah.
So it kind of made me think, well, obviously the game's going to be shit because these people don't understand it.
Yeah.
So then hear that they are like leaving in little nods and winks to actual proper wrestling stuff that people might enjoy is a little more reassuring.
It's also buggy, but that's kind of beside the point.
Yeah.
At
it's
this
hard
point,
to learn that it's also shit, so...
Yeah, where I've kind of pulled it apart. But yeah, the creation suite stuff, from what I've been told by people who are much better at it than me, is like, there are some weird bugs in that, but they are like, they come up when you're making absolutely perfect replicas of people, and so they're incredibly complicated models. Yeah. And so I'm kind of like, you sort of expect there to be bugs on those weird edge cases, you know?
Sometimes the bugs are the best bit. Yeah.
But, so the Will Ospreay thing I was talking about, apparently the only flaw with the model is that he has a really shiny face. And the guy tried to fix his shiny face, and when he did, it reverted every other element about the model.
Okay.
And so I was like, okay, you can't fix it. But also this guy has made like an app, so it's probably got like 10 times the points of reference, you know, that the developers expected anyone to put into a model. So that's kind of where you expect to find odd bugs. Like, I think that's reasonable to find those kind of stuff where you're pushing the creation suite right to its limits. You're going to find weird stuff happening. And I'm fine with that. And also, I will point out, like, stuff is back that was out from the last one. So, like, Create a Title is back, which is pretty cool. No, sorry, Create a Championship is back. Because Vince would hit me if I said that. Create a Championship is back. Create an Arena is back, and, like, Create a Show. Oh, also, you can create Divas this time, which for some reason got taken out last time. I've never really understood why. Apparently, creating women was too hard. So you could only create men last time.
Did Ubisoft make this?
No, it's made by 2K, and it was very fucking...
It was a joke about
women. I know, but it was just weird. They
did strip, like, everything out. Last year's was very basic, wasn't it?
They stripped a lot back. It just seemed like that was a weird thing to strip out.
Yeah. What about the storyline stuff? Is that back in? Can you make your own storylines?
That's the only thing I don't think you can do. And I think that's
not back yet.
Hopefully that'll be back next year, because that's really key.
Well, that was the stuff I always thought that was quite key, but then it must be like that. I assume they've done like metrics on this and worked out what bits people played, and obviously people enjoy the creation. Also,
I think you probably do what people play versus how complex it is to make, and to be fair, that is probably one of the more complicated bits of the game.
Yeah,
compared to like the creation suite where you're creating a title or creating a wrestler or whatever. Is all complicated, but there's a lot of commonality between all the different types of thing you're creating. Like if you work out how to import a logo and slap it onto a thing once, you can just reuse that everywhere. Whereas the creating a storyline is much more complicated.
Yeah, there's a lot more if you have like branching things. There's a lot more writing and development needs to go into
that. Someone did, but there are people who've made like perfect, or not perfect, but very, very good within the constraints that the game gives you. Like versions of the NXT TakeOver Brooklyn show and those kind of things. They've made like very good replicas of those, and that's cool. And you can go and download all that stuff. I think anything that you can create, you can share, and other people can download. So that's pretty neat.
That's good, but then, like Lewis says, it's kind of all wasted if the actual playing the game bit.
Yeah, the actual playing of the game is kind of bad, and like I say, it's kind of buggy in some places. I've had a sound sync issue. I had an issue where I pinned someone, and then they went for the rope break, and then it just got stuck on the animation of the person holding the rope. The referee told me to break the pin, and I tried pressing all the buttons, and I couldn't, and so I had to exit the match. It was kind of annoying because it was a storyline match, which meant that I exited it, and for some reason it just went to the end of the match, and there was probably training stuff in that match that would have been useful to learn. But I didn't.
Is that the showcase stuff, or the reason why Stone Cold's on the box?
That was my career. I've tried a little bit of the Stone Cold stuff, but it's quite. I assume it's good, and they've put like an awesome intro video on it, but the video's like 5 minutes long. And I'm kind of sitting there being like, "This is awesome," but also kind of want to play the game. And that also is not a good mode to go into first, I don't think. But the main thing is just, it's insufferably slow. And that's not something I notice when I watch wrestling. I don't go, it looks like these guys are moving through treacle.
Oh, really?
It's just the pace is so slow.
I wonder if that's a way to try and get the animations to match easier or something.
No, it's not that. It's not like I don't mean I don't mean the actual speed they're moving at. I just mean the pace of everything is just incredible. Like the speed you move across the ring, and the amount of time it takes someone to recover, and all this stuff. It's just it just makes it feel tedious. It doesn't make you. I'm playing Sami Zayn versus Neville. That should be an awesome, really high-paced, really quick match. It wasn't. It was kind of slow and dull, and that's annoying because actually last year's version was better in that regard. Like, it was fucked. I played that on the last year's one, and it was buggy as hell, but at least it was kind of enjoyable to play. Like, it wasn't good, but you were like, this is good. Like, it's fast and quick, and I punch someone and I run, and like Sami Zayn's diving through the ropes and stuff. That was cool. This is not cool. Also, the new submission system is shit. So yeah, there'll be a review at some point, and maybe once I've played more, I'll be like, I see what they're going for. But so far, I haven't. So far, I've just been like, why? Why did you make this game like this? Why?
I wonder how it's doing.
Just do you know what the solution is? Give Xavier Woods to be in charge. He likes games, and he's a wrestler. Done.
I think the problem is that WWE's involved.
Well, that's what I mean. Just have Xavier Woods be the WWE contact. Because he knows what makes a good game, and he knows how you make wrestling good. So, yeah. Give Xavier Woods. And if it's bad, he'll play a trombone in your face. That's what he does. Lewis.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about the Uncharted collection, or do you want
Is
to
your
talk about
head in a
Spectre?
bucket?
Sorry, what?
You sound very echoey? Muffled?
Oh, sorry, no, I was facing in the wrong direction.
Oh, okay.
If I face here, but if I face here...
It sounds like when I was a little kid, I had all my Lego bricks all in like a big yellow bucket, and when I emptied the bucket out, I used to put it on my head and then talk, and that's how my voice sounded.
Standard.
Anyway, do you want to talk about Spectre, or do you want to talk about Uncharted collection?
I do not mind. What would people rather hear?
I don't think the Uncharted... I can't imagine you've got much interesting to say about the Uncharted collection beyond it was like it's Uncharted, but it's on a PS4.
It basically is, yeah. Playing Drake's Fortune, and it's all shiny and new, and I love playing it again. That's it.
All right. So tell us about Spectre in that case.
Yeah, I went and saw Spectre, the latest James Bond film, obviously. I
thought you just seen a ghost. I don't want to hear about it now.
I saw the Spectre. It's really scary. I really liked it. Everyone was saying it's 5-star films, and as we would, you looked at the reviews before you go in, that sort of stuff. People gave it 5 stars, 4 stars, said it was really good. I thought it was really good, but I didn't like it as much as Skyfall or Casino Royale. I think it's probably after those two for me, because I felt it was missing some of the more adult storylines that were in those two films. There were sections that
was there a 10-minute scene where he was getting whipped in the bollocks?
Oh, I can't say that.
So there is.
Oh no! What, from Casino Royale?
Yeah.
No, there wasn't. There is, however, a couple of nods to Bond of yore, because of who's involved and things like that. Again, I don't know how much to say, or people are going to be fussed about it, or how much people already know. But there were nods to Bonds of yore with different villains and different setups and bases and those sorts of things. And yes, because of that, I felt it lacked some of the stuff that I love. What's his name? Daniel Craig. The reason I love Casino Royale and Skyfall was because they are grittier, more realistic, but still retaining those elements of Bond. Whereas this one goes a bit further and is probably leaning back a bit more towards the cheese. But there were some great action sequences. The first, the opening credit, the opening sequence before the credits is set in Mexico City during the Dia de los Muertos, and that was a really big setup with a helicopter doing barrel rolls and all sorts of stuff. So that was quite exciting and quite tense. And there are some other sort of good set pieces. I felt that there are.
Wouldn't a helicopter doing barrel rolls just fly into the ground?
No, I did ask my dad, because my dad's big into aviation and all sorts, and does loads of flight sims and all the proper gear and setup and stuff. So he's quite knowledgeable. I said to him, "Can you barrel roll a helicopter?" And he said, "Yeah, that's fine."
Okay.
So
was that just treated really casually?
Yeah, no, barrel rolled a helicopter loads of times.
I think as long as you're quick.
Yes, and
flip them over.
It is very quick.
Yeah, because in a plane you can kind of do like quite a lackadaisical barrel roll.
Yes.
But I wouldn't think you'd want to. I think you'd want to be snappy in a helicopter,
especially when you're above, a overpopulated city full of extras and things like that. So, but it was all done for real, and I'm sure there's loads of making of features out there. But so that was quite intense to watch, and there's always something really thrilling about hearing the Bond theme kick in, and the music
that's very true
on the big screen and stuff. So that was
probably the best intro to like any film. Every time that happens. And
even Sam Smith's song, which because I didn't quite, the songs are synonymous with the film now, so you have to talk about them. But when it was first released, I thought, this doesn't sound like a Bond film.
But does it work with like the title credits?
Well, and then it grew on me. So before I saw the film, I actually quite liked the song. But in the Bond the Bond titles, it's brilliant, because the title sequence in this one has sort of, again, looking back at the old Bonds, it's got the the naked silhouette females and opening hands and all those sorts of stuff. So it's quite old school, and it does work really well. So it sets it all up brilliantly. The one thing I didn't like was there seemed to be things chucked in for the sake of it. So for example, the car chase that's through, I believe it's through Italy somewhere, whether it be Milan or whatever. But it goes through these narrow cobbled streets, nighttime in Italy, and it didn't really feel very chasey. It was made to look and sound quite fast paced and screechy, but actually on the big screen it didn't feel very epic. It didn't feel like a car chase, and it just felt like it was chucked in to tick the box of having a car chase. And then the other thing that I really thought was just a complete waste of time was Monica Bellucci's character, who's obviously supposed to be one of the Bond girls. She is quite possibly the most pointless character of the whole film, and it's quite offensive that, Bond, it's no secret that Bond just uses and abuses people, but I felt it was really sort of overtly offensive, because her whole purpose of being there was for him to meet, sleep with, so that you can get one name and you don't see her for the rest of the film. And it just feels really cheap and tacky. It's like, yep, we've ticked that off, we can move on to the next bit. But on the whole, it is a good Bond film, and I did enjoy it. And Christoph Waltz as Franz Auberhauser is really good, and as you'd expect from him, he plays it cool and calm with his sort of menacing voice as he does. And I didn't read too much about the film or what the plot was, and for me, I don't know how much of a twist it'll be for other people, but for me, there is a twist towards the end. That was very good. Because again, I won't say it. Exactly,
no, because I will point out, I got in trouble because of you from last week's podcast, because you said too much about Life is Strange, and then Tough Cub shouted at me today.
Well, I didn't say too much about Life is Strange.
You did, because he hasn't played like any of the episodes.
Yeah, but I was careful about my spoilers.
No, he got very cross.
When he plays it, he'll realise that he doesn't need to get cross. I didn't spoil anything. He
got all cross for me.
Oh, well.
Because he said stuff like you reveal... I can't say what you spoiled, because then he'll be cross that I spoiled it. But yeah, apparently he has declared you spoiled things.
Oh, well. So yeah.
I like that you don't give a shit that I got shouted at.
Oh, and that's part of the course, isn't it? I don't have to email people on a daily basis, so, I'll just let you take the flak for it.
Fine.
So yeah, Spectre, I really liked it overall, but like I said, there is a twist at the end that I really enjoyed, because I thought all the rumours and stuff were put to bed. So that was, it was quite a good thing for me. I would hope that Craig does one more, and that
He did say that there is that infamous quote now, though.
yes, but he's also signed contract to do one more. So...
Yeah, so I think what he said, where he said I would rather slit my wrists than do another one, was in reference to doing like one more past his next one.
Oh right, okay.
But it sounds like he's not too keen to do the next one either.
No. But
did I tell you the thing as well where he, like, the directors Sam Mendes said they should do, like, film both together, and he flat out refused and said, are you fucking crazy?
What, this one and the next one?
Yeah.
They should have done, because all I'm hoping it's set up for is that it almost, like, continues straight away, and that certain people are back in it, and it's a send-off for Craig, because it will be his last one. And I almost want it to be, because the story hasn't finished in my eyes from Spectre. It hasn't finished.
I think that's fine. It's more just, I can see if it is that kind of plot where it kind of carries on, it could easily carry on into the next film.
Oh yeah,
then
absolutely.
Then I kind of think like it would make sense to film them both together, or at least to film a kind of. Although,
but then to be fair, he's like 47, 48 now.
Well, I think that's his point. Is like the reason he doesn't want to do it is they're very physically demanding films.
Yeah,
and I can definitely understand why you wouldn't want to film both together, because that was more his point. Is I think they're so physically demanding for him that like because those films are very stunt heavy. Yeah. And they are shot in such a way that you can't easily use stuntmen a lot of the time either. Because it's quite close up kind of shooting style a lot of the time. Because it's so Bourne influenced since Casino Royale.
Absolutely, yeah. But it is. I enjoyed Batista as the.
Oh yeah, I forgot he's in it. Is he good?
Yeah, he's good. He doesn't say a single word.
That's kind of what I wanted.
Until the end. But again, it's a nod because he's like an Odd Job or Jaws character.
Yeah, but that's kind of very much what they've been very open that they're kind of going for that iconic henchman again. Do you think he pulls it off? Do you think?
Oh yeah, definitely, absolutely.
Yeah, that's good. Because I obviously you don't want him to be exactly like a previous Bond villain, but you want him to be a villain where you're like, or a henchman at least, where you're like, I want to see more of him.
Do you know what I think?
His sticks in your head.
I think his physical presence does that most of that work, because you've had Jaws, who's obviously lanky,
and
you had Odd Job, who's short and sort of podgy.
Whereas Batista is just fucking stacked.
Yeah, he's just massive.
Yeah, he's a big guy.
Yeah, he was good. So it is a good film. I think where I got used to a bit more grown up of Bond, it's a bit of a letdown for me because it is harking back to the old sort of tropes and stereotypes. Also, it's probably no secret to anyone that in this one you can probably guess it listening for a Sam Smith song, that he falls in love and sort of tries to cling on to that because he hasn't been able to in the past. And for me, that whole connection missed the mark. I think his connection with Vesper Lind in Casino Royale was far more effective than the one that they've got going on in this one. But it does the job. Ticks a box again. But yeah, visually brilliant, great stunts, and it is just a good Bond film.
That's good. Good to hear. Right, I believe you've got a quiz, Lewis.
I have.
Quiz.
Tell us about this quiz.
Because it means I didn't have to sit down and think of games that I've never played and that aren't God of War, Uncharted, or The Last of Us. So this quiz, because it's our 200th episode, I thought I would do a TSA podcast themed quiz. So I'll be asking you questions about facts or events that have come to light or happened during our times on the TSA podcast. Does that make sense?
It does.
Bad news. I don't understand. I don't remember a fucking thing.
You might do. I think there are more than 10. I think there's about 13 questions because I had a couple that I just wanted to keep anyway. So 1 to 13 or 14 or whatever it will end up being. All done?
I've done 15 in case.
Okay.
Peter?
I'm on 11. 12.
You can
13.
tell you're on a Windows PC because you're no longer punching the table.
I'm just not using my keyboard at all, because if I use my keyboard, it sounds... Hold on, let me get something up here. Let me get.
But you see, thing. I use the.
It sounds like this.
But you see, that sounds like a Windows PC actually. But see, I use the Mac Notes app because then you can just type one dot and then it makes a list for you automatically. It's awesome.
Yep, Macs are awesome. We've been telling you this for years, Chris.
The rest of it's all right. I like the Notes app in particular.
Okay, so question 1.
Yeah,
and we'll start off easy. Who once recited Shakespeare at the start of a podcast? Question 2. For regular listeners, you'll appreciate this next question because we like a good mispronunciation on this podcast.
Mispronunciation?
That one.
That's my favourite correction ever.
Yeah. I did mean to say that as well, but you're just being a fucking pedant, aren't you? As you, like Pete has just perfectly demonstrated, we do like a good mispronunciation, and we like to take the piss out of people when they do them. So I'm going to give you some words, and I want you to write down the names of the people who mispronunciated them. Okay? So the words are weapon. Most recently, somebody said instead of Konami, they said Konami. And then you've got penguin, scene, and Thor.
And these are all will these be mainline podcast presenters or will they be guests?
One of them is a guest.
Okay.
Number 3. To the nearest 10, how many times has Kris fluffed the intro sequence?
Do you know?
How many episodes have we had? 200. So
do you know how many times I fluffed it?
100 and.
Are we including only broadcast versions? Because if we include the versions I've cut, there's like a lot.
Both.
Oh.
I love the idea that Lewis has got like a whiteboard beside him with tally marks on it.
Again, it's the long game.
Every week he's just...
There's a mistake. One day I will rub that in his face.
Every week it's like Kris starts the intro and Lewis pops the cap off his whiteboard marker.
That's why I mess around with my drawer full of pens. Yeah. I think I'm just being annoying, but actually just marking you up. Another one.
Yeah.
Question 4. Which listener or TSA member was once affectionately described by me as having a small neck? He didn't like it, by the way. I don't know if you remember.
No, I don't actually remember that.
He didn't appreciate it. Question 5. The name of which listener was so regularly amusing that it spawned 2 joke Twitter accounts?
Oh,
Oh dear.
Question 6. Which listener has given us the most detailed responses on the TSA page for the podcast? What question was that? That was 6. Wasn't it?
Yeah.
Okay. Question 7. During the Would I Lie to You style quiz, who nearly convinced us that he bought a bee in a jar off of eBay?
I think I remember who that was. That was a fabulous episode.
Question 8. Which guest realised the existence of their 2 worst fears combined actually existed?
Oh, I know, because I did that. I'm a bad person for doing it.
What's this, 9?
Yeah.
Okay. Question 9. What is Germanos' real name?
Isn't it Germanos?
No, otherwise I wouldn't have asked you. Question 10. Who once said they're fine with punching babies in order to get into a cinema? On question 11, on what episode outside of the Eurogamer ones did Kev first appear as guest? And on that said episode, how long was it into the podcast before we were introduced to Moira Stewart?
Oh, like
in minutes.
I'm going to give that to the nearest minute.
Yeah.
And question 13. Over the years, I've used the podcast as a psychiatrist. So I've vented a lot of thoughts and some weird musings. So which one of these isn't true or hasn't been on the podcast? Okay, so we've had that iPads have had good speakers. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Back in the day. Shadow of Mordor is shit.
Yeah, that's definitely true.
Infamous Second Son is shit.
Okay.
fruit in other food is wrong, and reading in public is weird.
Okay, is one of those supposed to be false?
The question is, which one of these is not true?
You've made them all too plausible.
Okay, how many? Does anyone need any going over?
No.
How many do you think you got, Pete?
Probably like 4 or 5.
Okay, Chris?
I would say probably... I'm going to go with 9. I think I might have more.
You
but-
are in the better position because you do edit them and Pete hasn't been on for a while. Okay, so question number 1. Who once recited Shakespeare at the start of a podcast?
Oh, I'm just going to guess Peter. That seems like a thing Peter would do.
I guess Kev.
It was Peter.
Really?
Episode 1, after the title sequence, you opened with "We Few, We Band of Brothers." That way.
Yeah.
Oh. That's a great... Oh, okay.
Mispronunciations. Who says weapon incorrectly?
You.
According to you fuckers.
You do.
It's you.
I don't pronounce it, but yes, apparently it's me. Who said, instead of Konami, Konami?
That was... Oh, no. This was last week, and I would say you, but I don't think it was you. I think it was Dave.
Okay, Pete, any answers?
I guessed Vaughn, but then while I was guessing Vaughn, I was also thinking that's a perfectly feasible way of pronouncing Konami. So maybe it was me.
Yeah. I can't remember. This was literally last week.
It wasn't last week, it was the week before.
Oh,
so
okay.
It was Tough Cub.
Oh, it's Tough Cub, yeah. Fuck.
Who mispronounces the word penguin?
Well,
Chris.
I do.
Who mispronounces the word scene?
Chris.
Yeah, do I?
Yeah.
Scene?
You say sin.
I would say
have
sin.
I've seen that.
I would have accepted Chris or Kev.
Oh, yeah, Kev does
They
as well.
both say sin.
That's because we got
and it-
Sussex accents.
And it fucks me right off. But we've never mentioned that one.
No, we don't
Probably 'cause
really.
we're too busy mocking you saying penguin.
Yeah, it's
or,
true.
who said Thor?
That's also
That's
me.
Chris.
Those last 3 are really easy.
I did almost want to just carry on just mocking you, but... question 3. To the nearest 10, how many times has Chris fluffed the intro sequence?
I said 190.
I'm going to say 200 because you're a dick.
It
I think you would be like, Chris has fucked it up every time.
One of you has got it right, and it is Chris. He's fucked it up every single bloody time.
Did I fuck it up? I don't think I fucked it up today.
Yeah, why not?
I probably did in some way.
Which listener, TSA member, was once affectionately described by me as having a small neck?
That was Person.
I don't know. I don't remember this.
It was Person. It was because his Twitter photo at the time made it look like he had a really thin neck.
Oh, I do remember this now.
If you're listening, Person, it was meant affectionately.
That's
I didn't
weird.
mean any harm.
So we did some weird shit in earlier episodes.
The name of which listener was so regularly amusing that it spawned 2 joke Twitter accounts.
Spabbage.
Spabbage. I haven't heard from Spabbage in a while.
No, probably dead.
Oh, that's a shame. Which listener has given us the most detailed responses on the TSA posts?
I think it's Hannah's Truce.
I said Haslam.
Oh, it's Haslam.
Of course
It is Haslam. Fuck, I got confused. No, it is
Okay.
Haslam. I don't know
during
why I got that confused. Just the same first 2 letters.
They both start with H, don't they?
They both start with HA, and I went, probably that one.
I
No,
almost
it-
put Hitler.
It is Haslam.
During the Would I Lie to You style quiz, who nearly convinced us he bought a bee in a jar off of eBay?
I think it was Peter Willington. I think he was on that episode.
I guessed Willington, because that just sounds like something that he could do.
It was Willington, and I actually think Chris believed him. I think Chris said it was true.
I might have done, yeah.
Um,
To be fair, think of a person who you know who would buy a bee in a jar, and it's Peter Willington, right?
Yep.
that's why I emailed him saying, "This is your lie," and he was like, "What?" I was like, "Go with it."
You're like, yeah, it seems plausible.
Which guest realised the existence of their 2 worst fears combined actually existed?
Peter, do you know? Because I know.
I don't know.
It was Vicky Blake, because we told her that
Oh,
clown
I was gonna
spiders
guess that.
exist.
It was Vicky Blake, and it was because clown spiders exist.
I hope you're not listening, Vicky. We're really sorry.
So if you are listening, Vicky, we're sorry for bringing back the trauma.
Yeah.
We even Googled it and showed her images and everything.
Yeah, we're bad people.
And it's a crippling fear. It's not just like a
She
whimsical,
I mean,
I don't like
to be
spiders.
fair, her fear of clowns is alright, but she fucking hates spiders.
Her fear of spiders is so bad that the game Spider, she has used the code to turn it into a walrus.
Yeah.
So that she can actually play it.
Yeah.
Okay.
What is Germanus's real name?
I cheated. It's
Well, you don't earn any points then.
because I tabbed into my Twitter client.
Right, before you say anything then, Peter, did you put anything?
I didn't cheat. I had something like, I think it's like something like Paul.
It's not. It's real.
Is it? No, hold on.
Polish.
Is it?
He's a Pole.
Yeah, is it Paul? Well, okay then. Is it like Pavel or something?
Are you like, his name's Paul the Pole, isn't it? It's Paul the Pole.
No,
I know him from down the pub.
His name. His name's Paul.
It's not.
His name's Thomas.
Thomas.
Of course it is.
Thomas
I knew it was
Nymek.
like a Polish or like a Polish spelling of a name.
So
that
you went with
would
Paul?
be normal in English. Yeah, because I thought it's Pavel, and then I thought you can't go say his name's Pavel. That just sounds like I'm going all Polish people are called Pavel, and that's just a bit wrong. So I
No.
thought you can't do that. Maybe it's just like Paul or something.
I'm just imagining you now thinking like, yeah, and I pull the pole down the pub, isn't he?
His name is Thomas, and I apologise if I get this wrong. I am probably getting
I think
it
it's
wrong.
Nymek.
Or
Nymek.
Nyemiech.
Yeah, something like that.
Nyemiech. Sorry, yeah. So I thought I had to get him on there, seeing as he's stalked
I'll
us for
fess
the
up to
past
cheating because I just
months.
tabbed into my Twitter client and he's right there.
You bastard. Next question. Who once said they're fine with punching babies in order to get into the cinema?
That's something you would say, Lewis.
Oh, fuck off.
I guessed that it was you as well, Lewis, but it could equally have been me.
It was Peter. It was.
To be fair, you don't need a reason, Lewis.
Yeah, I don't need to get into a cinema. I just want to punch a baby.
See, I wrote down Lewis's name for that, but while I was writing his name, I was thinking that's a perfectly reasonable preposition.
I'll punch him if I had to.
The conversation in that episode was regarding 2D and 3D films, and Pete had just been to see something in 3D. I think it was Spider-Man, The Amazing Spider-Man.
I was sure it wasn't Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
No, we're not going to revisit that. Yeah, and someone said that he said that he would punch a baby in order to get into a 2D showing.
Again, seems perfectly reasonable. I don't know why you keep saying it. Like you're expecting some sort of reaction,
No,
but
I
that
wasn't
seems
judging
normal.
you. I wasn't judging you. I'm just testing your memory. The next question: who has punched a baby in order to get into? No. On what episode outside of the EGX ones did Kev first appear as guest?
I think it's like 40.
I said episode 32.
Oh,
It might be more like 30. I'm not recounting my answer, but I think Pete is probably closer.
Are you recounting your answer, Chris?
No.
Do you want to go to 30?
No. Because I think that's
Sure?
cheating.
No. Do you want to go to 30?
No.
You sure?
Yes.
Say yes. You want to change to 30, don't you?
No.
Had he changed to 30, you would have been right, Pete, but he's closer. It was episode 37.
Ah.
Wait,
and
am I? Did I say 40? I did say
Yes.
40, yeah.
37's closer to 40 than it is 32.
No, that's all right.
Yeah.
I thought I'd said higher.
Just general maths.
Is this not
No,
like
I'm not.
Price is Right rules? If you go over, it's
I'm not saying I'm Pythagoras or anything, but next question. On that said episode, how long was it before we were introduced to Moira Stewart?
It's definitely like 2 minutes.
I said 6 minutes because you have to get past all the bullshit at the beginning that we talk before you get to the news.
Which makes it even more astounding, considering all of that bullshit before the news, that it was 2 minutes and 58 seconds.
Jesus.
And question 13. Which of these is not true about myself? iPads have good speakers, Shadow of Mordor is shit, Infamous Second Son is shit, fruit in food is wrong, and reading in public is weird.
I think it's the fruit thing.
Okay.
But that
Yeah.
might be me, because I think that as well.
I said no. Hold on. I said the fruit thing was false, and all the others are true.
Yeah.
Okay, it was a trick question because they're all true.
Ah! The fruit ones just seem like the most plausible, because I thought that was me. Because that is a thing I feel.
Fruit belongs in nothing but its skin. And I remember the reading in public, the one where I revealed to you my feelings on reading in public.
Yeah, that was a weird conversation.
And also eating in public.
Yeah, that's just weird. Like people walking down the road eating. But
What you got against that?
And only eating one sweet at a time.
Yeah, that pissed me off.
And eating the top biscuit from a packet.
No, don't do that. You leave the top one because that's the one that goes soft. But yeah.
Lewis is so weird.
I like it, Lewis. It's like, no, it's the buffer. It's the buffer. Top biscuit.
And then when there's only one left, you just put it in the bin.
Yep. Fair.
And Kris had mentioned that he went and read something in a park sometime. You just don't do that. You don't go and read
comic
in a
books,
park.
probably.
Especially and reading on trains. It's like, please.
What else you could do on a train?
I don't know. People have got phones and iPads now.
Trains are the ideal
if you're
place to
read.
read.
At least read it on a digital device so it looks like you're watching something instead. Or listening
trains
to
are the
something.
place I read the most.
No, it's just wrong. You look like a weirdo.
Trains and hospital waiting rooms.
Yeah, because we're in them loads.
I was when I broke my wrist.
Oh, fucking hell! I wondered how long it would be before he got his wrist into it. Jesus Christ! It was only a couple of episodes ago that it was all we ever heard. Oh, I can't tie up my shoe because I've got my wrist in the plastic cast. Oh, I can't write. Oh, fucking get over it. You broke your wrist. And not only that, you broke your wrist by what again?
Playing football.
Because the ball was heavier because it was raining.
Yeah.
Because as we all know, water soaks into footballs.
That's a thing.
The leather waterproof contraption.
That's perfectly acceptable as a viewpoint.
Oh, it hit my wrist and oh. Anyway,
I don't know why you were such a dick about the fact I broke my wrist. Most people are nice about it.
No, initially I was nice about it, but then it was.
I mentioned it occasionally.
No, that's bollocks. Every other tweet, which is pretty much one a second, was this is really difficult tying up my shoe. ... because I've broke my wrist. Like, Kris, just get over it, will you?
That's not.
These tweets are making you sound like an habitual masturbator.
This is not
It's hard
accurate.
to do this with one hand. Stop clicking your fingers then.
It is hard to do some things with one hand.
Anyway, there's a rant about Chris's broken wrist over and done with.
It's a weird rant.
It just wound me up. I'm sorry. I
don't know why that wound you up.
I'm just being honest with you. And also the excuse. It was raining, so the ball was heavier.
That's accurate.
It's not accurate. It's a load of tosh. Kris won with 11 and Peter had 8. So you got 4 more than you thought, Pete.
Cool. I'm the best.
Boo.
It's also good considering that, you know, those copious amounts of drugs you take haven't affected your memory as much as you thought.
Anyway. Question time.
Question time.
So, Mr. Bell Teacher says 150 or so episodes. You cannot beat a good quiz. Last week, Kris talking about the bear gave me a giggling fit in a public place because we did ask people what their favourite moments were. So I believe that was a favourite moment.
I don't remember you talking about a bear.
Yeah, the bear in Wild.
Oh, you can ride a bear.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
You can ride a fucking bear.
Yeah. I got very excited.
That was pretty much how Chris's conversation went.
Yeah, I was even more excited than you, Peter.
But
I
you
shouted
can
into the
ride
mic.
a bear. I was watching that thinking, oh my God, he's riding a bear. You can ride a bear in this game. And then I was thinking, there's a joke in there about Tough Cub riding a bear.
We missed that. Was he? Oh, no, it was
that's
Dave.
true.
Oh no, you couldn't have had Tough Cub on when you're talking about riding a bear.
I was going to say...
You would remember that episode, I'm sure.
I don't remember that coming up, but...
Joannis's favourite podcast moments.
Oh, Thomas?
Yeah. Oh, you mean Pavel?
He says, first up, Vaughan.
Oh, that was good.
And secondly, anytime we've tried to speak Polish.
I don't know what he's talking about.
He says
we are multilingual.
He says it's hilarious anytime we tried to speak Polish.
I had some Polish sausage the other week. Very nice.
There's just so many euphemisms.
I just too many. I can't pick one.
Some kind of salami. That's
Did he enjoy it too? There we go.
It's from Warsaw, I think. It was. I can't remember what it's called, but it was very nice.
It's a long way to go to get on your knees.
Nice bit of Polish sausage of an evening.
Give me something to translate and we'll try.
Polish sausage.
No, that's
Polish
terrible.
Sausage. Polska kielbasa. That was easy. Who's laughing now,
sure?
eh?
Are you sure it was easy?
Yes.
Something about 200 episodes. Write something about like.
This is the 200th episode of this podcast. Just to 200. I don't know if they say numbers like that.
Oh no! But try
You
write.
have to write words.
Write
in their numerical
write the word
form.
2 and then the
In
word
their
100.
numerical form, they are exactly the same.
Write the word 2 and then the word
I'll
100.
write
You
the
idiot!
word. Yes, I know how to spell 200. I know it consists of the word 2 and 100.
Do you?
You patronising twat. 2 TWO. Oh fuck! It's just written all over it. This is the 200th podcast of this podcast.
200 podcasts of this podcast.
Yep, I couldn't remember what I'd written.
Okay.
To just do Westner podcast, Tego podcastu. Why is one podcast normal, but one podcastu?
I don't know, but I like podcast. Ooh, that's what we're retitling this.
Podcastu.
What else we got?
Hang on. Kris is a cunt. Kris just cunt.
Hold on. Devusetna. That's what the woman says on Google Translate. Devusetna, that means 200th.
Oh.
Okay.
I basically speak Polish now.
I said Dwetster, so I'm a heathen.
Mr. Jimmy said he's only listened to a few, but his favourite was actually 199.
Poganin.
When I was
That's
in a
heathen
good
in Polish.
he said he liked it when I was
Poganin.
but he said he liked it when I was in a good mood and said
when was that?
I don't remember this.
Exactly.
But it says that plus VE swearing is better than minus VE swearing. I'm trying to think what the fuck we talked about last week.
More swearing is better than...
Positive swearing is better than negative swearing.
Yeah, I guess.
Fucking A.
What? So, what if I calling you a fucking cunt like I just did?
He won't like that.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What else we
I'm
got?
fucking sorry.
This podcast really isn't
Jasnam says that they liked the bit when Peter used to leave, but only when he came back next time.
That's a bit rude.
No, he's saying when you came back.
Hurt my feelings.
Oh no.
Also, Tough Cub says happy 200. And we had a couple of more things from the TSA people. Teflon, our glorious leader, says congrats on the big 200 Kris and Podcasting Co.
Oh, that's like a little rap.
Yep. And Aaron says...
Well known for spitting rhymes is our Tef.
Yeah. Aaron says, well done on 200 podcasts. Obviously the ones I'm on are the best, but the others aren't too shabby either.
Oh, I just don't listen to them if Aaron's on.
Yeah. Neither do I.
Not even when you're editing them.
No.
Just leave his track turned down and hope for the best.
Yeah.
Oh, bless him.
Yeah, he's lovely. Aaron's all right, really.
Never met Aaron.
He's all right.
He stayed away from EGX this year so that he didn't have to meet me.
Anyway.
I like the fact that Kris is just... Yeah, he's all right.
We're done.
Could be worse.
Anything else you want to talk about for 200? We need to give away this DVD. What we're giving away, we decided. So we've picked a DVD for the person who wins. We've selected the movie.
Peter sent me a pile of whoops buckets and I'd just blindly go, that one.
We've selected what we want.
Turns out you've got a copy of the shitty Johnny Depp film, Public Enemies.
Chocolat. Anyway.
What?
I don't like it.
It's not a bad film.
It's all about chocolate. It's weird.
Who'd have thought a film called Chocolat would all be about chocolate?
Right, so here's the question. If you would like to win...
I'm not fluent in French.
If you'd like to win...
If it was in Polish, hang on a minute.
If you'd like to win...
let me translate for you.
Go on.
Wait for it. Shush, Kris. This is taking far too long for a joke, but I'm going for it. Detect language. No, that should be English. Come on, people have lost interest now. It's not funny anymore. Polish is already there because why wouldn't it be?
Just the default.
Oh, late. Let's hear it spelled. Czekolada.
That's pretty good. I like it.
Czekolada.
Anyway, if you want,
there you go. That's what we're giving away.
Oh, chocolate! I get it.
Yes.
We're not wait. If you want to win our randomly selected DVD, which is not chocolate,
you don't want to win it, and it wasn't randomly selected.
It might be on Blu-ray. I don't know. I don't know if you can get this film. I hope you can't. Anyway,
just give it away on Laserdisc.
Anyway, if you'd like to win,
if you want to win a charity shop VHS.
If you want to win it, you have to go and find...
That would be amazing.
Find and tweet us at TSA Podcast.
You've got the second series of X-Files on VHS.
Tweet us.
That would be amazing.
Tweet us what was the date that episode 1 was released on. Not the Christmas special one that came before it. The one that's actually called episode 1. Go and find it.
On the TSA website, if you go to the podcast section, go to page 7 and look for the one with the picture of an old retro microphone.
It must be more than 7.
No, page 7, one with the old retro microphone on it, and then look at the date of that article. You've got your answer right there.
Yeah, it's easy to find. So if you want to win our
gets traffic to TSA.
If you want to win our randomly selected movie,
brilliant.
Go and find it and tweet us the thing at TSA Podcast, and we'll pick someone next week, assuming enough of you enter. Hopefully you will. Yeah.
I know what we could do. If you really want to punish them with like a torturous movies, like High Fidelity.
I love High Fidelity.
You've got a copy of that, haven't you?
But I'm not giving it away because it's my favourite film.
No, it's shit.
Also, I'd like to say thank you to everyone.
High Fidelity.
I'd like to say thank you to everyone who's arranged these lovely firework display tonight for the 200th episode.
They're everywhere. I couldn't walk home after work without, jumping.
Everyone loves us, apparently. So many fireworks. Nothing to do with the fact we're recording on the 5th of November. Unrelated.
Is it the 5th of November? Oh, I should really remember that.
If only it was a rhyme.
If only. I can't remember that rhyme. I can, however, remember the speech from V for Vendetta.
I'm sure it's something like, don't forget, the 5th of November.
Oh, it's...
Don't forget
it. Don't forget.
Yeah, that's
remember.
No, that's the rhyme. Don't forget, 5th of November, don't forget.
Don't forget.
You
basically just got a thesaurus out and have just done synonyms of all the lyrics to that poem.
No, it's
synonym.
Just, don't forget.
No.
What? What did you say?
I'm doing a synonym rhyme that isn't really for synonyms.
Oh.
From the Muppets. It's not really from the Muppets.
do you mean banana?
Synonym.
Yeah. That's what I mean.
Synonym.
Try it again. Try it again.
Synonym. Synonym.
Can you say it normally?
Synonym.
See what you've done, Peter?
Yeah, I've set him off.
Chris,
I don't think that bit's right. I can't remember how that bit goes.
Say synonym.
Synonym. Synonym. Synonym.
Remind me never to make a joke about firework rhymes again. If this is what it leads to.
Alright, so we've just got to do 800 more of these to break that witch's curse.
Yay! Remember, I'm just thinking because at the end of the V for Vendetta speech,
go on then.
He says it.
Go on, do it.
He says, remember, the 5th of November, gunpowder, treason and plot. Something, gunpowder, treason should never be forgot.
Yeah. I see no reason the gunpowder treason should never be forgot.
All right.
Don't forget.
No.
In a way, this has been the glorious episode 200. Presumably, we're all going to be killed before 201.
Mainly because I'm going to go and blind you all.
Yeah. That's the opposite's going to happen. Dappy's going to come after us.
And give us extra sight.
Yeah.
That's how this all concludes.
Yeah, that's how this ends. 200 episodes and the witch...
Somehow I always knew.
The witch wasn't satisfied, so she sent Dappy after us. Right. I have been your host, Kris Lipscomb. Joining me this week has been Lewis Gaston and Peter Chapman. You can get me on Twitter as HalPro. It's HALB Pro.
Is that
You
done,
can get
then?
Lewis at Lewis Gaston. You can get Peter at
What?
Colossal Blue.
Are we
What-
finished?
What? Yeah,
We
what if I
are.
don't want to?
Oh.
Well, you might be.
What have I missed?
Disappointing, Chris. You finished too early again.
What haven't you missed, Chris?
It's
basically?
This is like an hour and 55 minutes long.
I thought you were about to say it was once.
It happens to everyone.
I was tired.
This is like an hour and 55 minutes long. What do you want from me?
To be fair, in an hour and 55, you could get loads of podcasts done.
I've had time for a shower and a cigarette.
Yeah, even with the 10-minute rest period.
Stop making podcasts an innuendo. Innuendo. Anyway, you can get Peter at Colossal Blue. You can get us on the whole podcast, all of us. Particularly if you want to enter our competition to win a randomly
excuse me.
selected very good DVD.
Excuse
you can
me.
get it at TSA Podcast.
Excuse
I
me.
already said you, Lewis.
Excuse me.
Yes.
Right, first of all, don't be such an ignorant bastard. I was talking to you and you carried on talking.
I wanted to finish my sentence. You
No,
were interrupting.
no,
That's rude. You're a
listen.
teacher.
Yeah, I wanted to grab your attention. And on a podcast, when I visually can't raise my hand or signal you in any other manner, using my voice is the way to do it.
Okay.
Understood?
Yes, what do you want?
Right, you didn't give them my Twitter name.
I already did that bit.
Did you hear it, Peter?
I didn't hear it.
No, exactly.
You get
see?
Lewis at Lewis Gaston. I
I'm
did
private
say it.
account though, so.
Lewis_Gaston.
Oh, there's
No, it's
that was fucking annoying.
I think it's actually no, it's _ Lewis Gaston. That is still an account that exists.
You're a bunch of bastards. That was really annoying. That one.
Yeah. You can get the podcast at TSA Podcast, or you can go to TheSixthAxis.com where you can get content that what we wrote, and also you can get all your episodes of the podcast there. You can go to iTunes, you can go to YouTube, you can go to Stitcher, you can go to other
Good job.
places, wherever. I don't know. I've done this 200 times. You probably know where you can go by now.
Another bonus question from the quiz. How many times has Kris flubbed the outro sequence?
200.
Exactly.
Exactly that many times now.
Yep.
Oh no, 201 if you include the Christmas episode.
Do you know what is an upside this week? I haven't had to re-record anything. It's rare. It's
What do you mean you
rare,
haven't had to
rare that
re-record
I don't have to start again and then cut it
Yeah, but
out.
Don't forget your Chinese paedophiles.
I'm not going to cut them out, but I haven't got to cut out anything I said.
If I'm not on again, like if you don't invite me back ever again, can I at least come on around Christmas time to talk about Star Wars?
Yeah, I suppose.
Are you seeing it on the 18th?
I'm not seeing it at like a midnight showing or anything, but I'm going to see
No.
it as close as I can to opening.
I am
It's a
seeing
tricky
it
one
at
because you want to get the
8:30
balance
PM.
right.
Yeah, you do. I'm seeing it at 8:30 p.m., which I think is going to be a nightmare. But we have ordered because somebody bought it for me for a birthday present. They've ordered me VIP 3D seats.
Oh.
Obviously, most seats are 3D.
I was going to say, see, it's rare to find a 2D seat.
It wouldn't be a very efficient seat, to
No.
be honest. Unless it was resting on something that was more 3D, like a wall. But yeah, so I'll be there. Almost tempted to go dressed up, even like just to be geeky. I mean, you're far more of a Star Wars fan than me, but these trailers and all the hype has really got me.
It's almost too much, to be honest.
I almost wet myself.
It's too much. My wife came home from work and I was like, the new Star Wars trailer's out, and she's like, how many times did you watch it today? And I was like, just a few.
Have you seen the Supercut trailer?
I've seen a couple of different ones.
There's on YouTube, someone's put all of the trailers for the new Star Wars into one like 3-4 minute long trailer.
Yeah, to try and kind of work out what the
and make
plot.
it like a bit more chronological. And
Yeah,
you should just watch that one on loop. It's amazing.
It kind of has a rough stab, a rough stab at what the plot's going to be.
Yeah, really good. Just type in Star Wars Force Awakens Supercut.
It's
Yeah,
so
it is good.
exciting.
I almost want like a documentary film crew to follow you in. I would pay to watch that. I'd go and watch that in the cinema.
It's so exciting. But it's tinged with trepidation, because what if they're pulling a Phantom Menace and it actually turns out to be shit?
That is true. But
That's a problem.
You won't know until you go and watch it.
I'm gonna tear up seats in the cinema if they do. I'll be punching babies to get out.
If there are no babies, I'll go and find some. I'll go to a creche and just punch the living shit out of them.
Anyway, that's going to do it.
Hang on, I haven't finished. Pete, have you heard the theory that's going around about Jar Jar Binks?
Yes.
What thoughts?
I kind of hope that they do that, and it's true.
It would be amazing. It would vindicate the prequels.
No, it wouldn't. It would make them more bearable.
It would, yeah. It would actually make them worse because he didn't do the best part about it, which was the reveal. I almost want a shot from behind where he's in a cloak, so you can't tell. Obviously, it's him, and then he's just like a deeper voice. It right. All I had to do was put on a deeper voice and trip over a few things, and then bosh, he turns around.
Well, to be fair, no one who would recognise him is alive.
I'm alive.
Yeah, but I mean, no one in universe is alive.
Well, that's dead. That's their. They'd have to deal with that. But
what happens to Jar Jar anyway?
Chewbacca, yeah, Yoda.
Yoda died, didn't he? Empire Strikes Back, but Chewbacca's still alive. Wookiees live for like 400 years.
Does he meet Chewbacca?
Possibly. There are Wookiees in the Senate, and he was actually the senator that ushered in the death of democracy.
Yeah, but Chewbacca wasn't a senator.
No, but Chewbacca, he would have been a famous senator. Jar Jar Binks. Come on.
Oh, I guess so, yeah.
So Chewbacca would know his face.
Yeah, but there's no major characters who are alive who knew him personally.
I just thought I'd find out.
Yeah.
I just think it would be probably one of the greatest cinematic twists of all time.
It would be absolutely amazing, but I think it gives George Lucas far more credit than he deserves.
Well, it does, and it also ignores the fact that they've basically thrown out all of George Lucas's ideas for the sequels.
However,
and just wrote their own.
Watching the Supercut trailer and the most recent trailer and stuff like that, I did think that obviously he's got a hard time for the prequel 3, but actually the sheer excitement that, like I say, even for me who loves the first ones, but compared to you, Peter, isn't a massive Star Wars fan. But the sheer excitement and joy you get out of seeing the TIE fighters and hearing those noises and being in that universe again, you do kind of think actually he was a visionary and look what he has given us.
Yep, he had a hell of a vision, and then he kind of fucked it up halfway through.
Yeah. Well, he kind of completed his vision and then came back 20 years later and went, shall I fuck it up now?
Yeah, and who would have known that he would be shit at coming back and making films? I mean, Howard the Duck that he produced was cinematic masterpiece.
But on the other hand, he did produce the
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones films. Those are good films.
Yeah,
except for the last one.
You can't justify George Lucas's work by going, and by the way, he's also got lots of money and good friends with Steven Spielberg.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, it's true.
So, I mean, to be fair, he's probably sat on his, 3 billion or whatever he's got, and is just like, well, fuck off, I don't give a shit.
I like
was it 4.2 billion or something they bought Star Wars for? Disney paid 4 billion for Star Wars, and Activision have just paid 6 billion for Candy Crush Saga.
And of course, Steven Spielberg got 10% of that.
Yep.
Did he?
Do you not know this famous deal that they made where they said, because Close Encounters of the Third Kind and Star Wars came out around the same time, and they said to each other, I'll give you 10% of the profits from it. And George Lucas has made a tiny amount of money from it, and Steven Spielberg has made a ludicrous sum of money from Star Wars.
But then I think because that's Harrison Ford and all that lot, they were, because they didn't get paid loads, did they? They signed.
Yeah.
They signed up for percentage royalties.
Yeah.
Except they were all smart and signed on the gross, and David Prowse, who played Darth Vader, signed on net and has never been paid.
Which is why he fell out with them all.
Because they were like, Star Wars didn't make any money, really, did it? Obviously. You're like, you're using weird accounting practices. These seem suspicious to me. To claim that those 3 Star Wars films have never made any money. Apparently.
No one knows about Star Wars. What are you talking about?
Yeah, no profit in them at all. That's why they keep making them.
I wonder if they were smart enough to do that. Do you reckon any of the actors went to J.J. Abrams and went, I heard about this for the original trilogy. Any chance I could, have a taking? No.
Just 2% of the merchandise.
Yeah.
And J.J. Abrams is about to nod, and a Disney exec just appears and punches them in the face.
Yeah, Kathleen Kennedy just arrives and mows them all down with a machine gun whilst punching a baby.
Yeah. Just goes, it's cheaper for us to hire new actors than pay them.
It's cheaper for us to murder someone, bribe the jury,
Yeah.
and then hire a new actor.
Than it is to pay them a percentage. All right, let's go do it. Anyway, it's been 200 episodes, so for the 200th time, say goodbye, everybody.
No,
Yeah, no, you're right.
not doing it.
Ah, Jesus. So that's like probably the 20th time
But
What are you talking about, Chris?
that
The 20th time for what?
people have refused to say goodbye.
I don't know. I just don't want it to end. So I feel like we're all in this journey together, and I just don't.
You
don't want it to
left
come to an
us. You left us, Peter.
If I say goodbye, I don't think I'll ever get it back again.
You won't. This is
Why are you making me say goodbye?
end. Oh, do the really freaky baby noise, Lewis.
I did this last week.
Oh, yeah, it still makes me feel a little bit sick. How does he do it? I don't know how he does it.
I assume he just
wait
has
for
a
it,
baby.
wait for it.
That's the punch. Baby punch. All right. Say
Baby
goodbye.
Punch. The name of my new band, Baby Punch.
No.
Oh,
No, I'm not. I'm just not going to do it, Chris.
well, it's your own time you're wasting.
Well, you've got a choice, Chris.
That's true.
Either you quit
No,
right now.
no. I'm just going to sit here, but in silence.
Saying that it's my own time I'm wasting, that assumes that my time is valuable.
It sort of is. People pay you for your time.
Not right now, they don't.
No.
I'm off. I've got all evening.
Can I pay you for your time and then you'll leave?
Okay, this idea is intriguing.
Yeah, can we get a percentage? Or...
Can I just bribe you? What if I buy you tickets to Star Wars, Peter?
Okay,
It's already
VIP
booked
tickets. We'll own 3D seats.
Yeah. Opposed to 2D ones.
I'm so going to review those 3D seats.
Can I get tickets for one of them fancy 3D seats I've heard about?
Someone, when they texted me and said, we got you VIP seats for the 3D show, I was like, oh, thanks. And then part of me just wanted to respond with, you do realise that the normal seats are much more comfortable than the VIP seats. Not to be ungrateful.
And also, seats, plural, and it's a birthday present for me. I only need
Who
the
else
one.
is going? And then they say, your brother. Oh, thank God. Thank God. No one else. It's not you. It's not the person texting me. Say goodbye, Chris.
Goodbye.
Are you going somewhere?
You told me to say goodbye.
I thought we were settling in for the evening.
Oh, Jesus.
Is he
We are
here
settling
too?
in for the evening. Can I go and grab my fags?
Is
we
that a
just-
euphemism?
Yes.
Could we just end
Okay,
it?
I'm grabbing my fags.
Could
I'm
we?
off to click my fingers.
We could just end it.
Chris, don't end it. There's no need to, okay?
It's never
Whatever-
ending. It
whatever
never
the
ends.
Whatever the answer, it's not ending it, okay? We're here for you.
This is the song that never ends. It
He's
just
singing,
goes on
Jesus
and
Oh
Christ.
shit!
on.
Okay, goodbye,
Sorry.
goodbye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
The Sixth Axis podcast.
I'm recording.
There we go. That's now recording. Excellent.
Right. Okay. Good.
I didn't click the mouse properly. I clicked the mouse too hard, and the mouse moved away instead of clicking. I was too forceful.
Because you were enraged thinking about early podcasts.
Exactly. Oh. Is your Audacity working?
It certainly appears to be. I've got little blue peaks and everything.
That'll do. I'll take an appearance of
That's the most we can hope for.
I'll take what I can fucking get, to be honest.
I heard that about you.
It's been a long time, Peter. I will at this point. Right.